have a huge problem here, and it's important to analyze it completely. So I'm sure everyone by now has noticed that whenever there's any sort of a slight, any sort of a belief that they're being treated unfairly, whether real or imagined, women tend to resort to claiming that it's some sort of grape.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about. The huge problem you have is that you're having a huge problem controlling your huge problem, and it keeps making and putting you into huge problems. It's not every situation that they claim that that's what's happening. They specifically claim it's happening when it does. Unfortunately, us men can be a little bit aggressive, let's say, whenever our huge problems start acting up?
No. You might have trouble controlling yourself, but I don't. The majority of men don't. That's the whole reason society exists. If it wasn't for the ability to control your baser instincts or just have good intentions altogether, we wouldn't have society. So, anyways, back to the analysis of the main point here. So, they always resort to that, right? They even have the whole hashtag Me Too thing because it wasn't enough for just them to complain about their own issue. They had to bring in everybody else, and it turned into a big book club meeting about different times that grape happened. And they all have their new descriptions of what grape is. It's like, I was graped by his eyes. I was graped by his opinion. I was graped by the fact that he has that particular type of job. So, anyways, the reason this happens, it's important for our audience to understand this so that they can, prepare for it in advance and hopefully avoid any of the ramifications that comes from this. Because in our society today, we have this policy of just believing them no matter what without any evidence, and then even after the fact that we get evidence pointing to the fact that it was a lie, we don't punish them in any way, shape, or form, which further encourages this behavior. But anyways, why they do it is because to the vast majority of women, a sexual encounter is a form of payment to them. So the same way that if you buy a product or a service and what you receive is not up to what you had expected to receive, you would feel slighted and you would try to complain, maybe get some money back from the credit card, or have them replace the item, or maybe they'll perform the service a second time to see if it's better, more to your liking. But since sexual activity is not the same as cash, you can't exactly get a refund, so to speak. So they do the what comes naturally at that point, and they claim that it was a negative sexual experience, and the word that they use for this is grape, and that's where you are. And that
No. Everything you just said is absolutely wrong. First off, let's get serious on everything that you just said, because first we're going to talk about, you can say it's not most men, and okay, I'll give you that, because up until 30, I think like almost 30% of men aren't even having sex. But the ones that are, some are aggressive, and then we do have to take into account power dynamics if that's where we're going. So you end up in an office with your boss. You're making $15 an hour and you have rent and everything that's due. Your boss now definitely starts using his power and his leverage to block the door, and you're now in this situation. What do? You can scream, sure you can, and some do, and some people, unfortunately, some females, they freeze up, they lock up, they don't know what to do, so they're just afraid. So in that case, by being afraid and not saying anything, some men believe that that silence is consent. That's not consent. So if they then, having from a place of power, now you have this person's salary and reputation in your hands. They didn't consent to it. They weren't flirting with you. They're just at their office trying to do their jobs. You do not get the right to stick anything up them. No, I'm not for that. And if that's what they're doing, and then the woman called them out on that, sexual harassment, if you actually put it in them, they didn't consent to it, that's rape. If you see them crying, clear as day, that's rape. If at the end of the day you block the door and they have to lock themselves up in a bathroom while you bang on the door for it. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I don't mind them calling you a rapist. Absolutely, you're absolutely that. There's no question about it. If you're saying to me that there's a situation where the guy and the girl came together. They were having some drinks, having a good time. She went back to his place. Massages are being done. And then they do have intercourse the next day. Her husband finds out and she goes, oh yeah, that wasn't consensual, then yes, we're on the same team. That's not. But don't lump it all up and call it. We definitely need to treat this on a case by case basis. We all have mothers. Some of us have sisters. Some of us have daughters and nieces. It's like it's not okay. We have to hold these grapists accountable when it is. And I more times than not, when looking at these cases, they're really suspect behaviors from some really suspect looking people. I mean, we haven't seen any accusations against Leonardo DiCaprio. And if there was one person that was supposed to get an accusation, it's that guy. But he isn't getting any. So we see the Weinsteins. And it's like, yeah, it looks let's just call a spade a spade. He looks like the type that would grape. It's whatever. That's my truth. That's my opinion. It's not fact, but he looks like the type. So no, I think honestly, us saying that they're making false accusations, I don't believe that. I don't. I won't say believe all of them, but I definitely think a lot of them are telling the truth.
Not at all. And you used the wrong word for a while there. I'm glad you came back and started using grape because that's what I was talking about.
I can use any word I
It,
want
it's
because
a
I am
fruit.
in the right and every platform will agree with me. This is unacceptable and we have to stop all of these toxic ass men doing this thing. We do. Everyone can agree. We all know. Everyone has a homie that is a little bit suspect. And we know that bastard's a little bit suspect. Why are you buying them girls all them drinks?
No,
You
no, no.
know she can barely walk. Where are you taking her, dude? Yeah,
You
it's like let's
you
not pretend it doesn't happen though.
you have homies because you're clearly not on the right. You're on the left, and that's where all of these people tend to appear. But there is no power dynamic when you're making $15 an hour. That's the minimum wage in a lot of places around the country. So that person in the encounter that you're describing is just going to be like, oh, okay, I don't really care. I'll just go grab literally any job and make the same amount of money. So, no, they treat those things as currency. And since they don't have the same type of recourse due to the nature of their currency that we have with cash transactions, they go this route when they need to make a complaint about the transaction. They claim grape, even though grape did not occur. So, next time you're involved in some sort of escapade with someone of the female identity, just keep in mind that the way you are imagining the situation, which is just everybody gets to enjoy something, it's all free, there is no currency being involved, that they do not feel the same way. They believe that they are paying you and that you need to provide them with something extraneous to the sexual activity that you're engaging in. And if they don't get it, then be prepared to be made into juice.
Let's be clear. Using your analogy, it doesn't matter if it's cash or sex. If someone takes it when you didn't want to give it to them, their ass should go to jail.